Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 296 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on March 10th, 2026. Hope you're all doing well. The clocks have changed and we are back to normal, non-standard time. Daylight savings time is my favorite. I wish they would just leave it like this. I suppose we missed March 8th by a couple days. Otherwise, wouldn't that have been cool? Because this episode is chock full of 308. Man, I tell you what. First, we're going to hit the technical discussion of last week's lightweight bolt gun silencer report, the Dreyse 30. And then we're going to hit an intro to today's publication, today's new publication, that is, the Rampart Range Suppression Carson 30 on the 14.5-inch SR-25. Yeah, it's such a cool gun. I'm so excited to see what silencer makers can do to tame it. This is chapter 2 in that. First you saw the Dylan a couple weeks back. Now you're here with the Carson 30. So buckle up for that. We're gonna intro that today for you. It's gonna be really interesting. And a quick administrative note and a warning before we get started today. About half an hour before I started recording this, we got forwarded a sales email from a distributor called AIM Sports Incorporated, selling a silencer from a company named Warrior Systems Manufacturing Incorporated. In the email, which went out to big dealers nationwide, it says that it has been independently tested by Pew Science. I'm quoting the email. We have not heard of these two companies until this email was forwarded to us this evening. I had no idea AIM Sports existed, nor Warrior Systems Manufacturing. AIM Sports is in Ontario, California, according to their website, and so is Warrior Systems. Yeah, so it appears they're in cooperation with each other. So I just want to say, publicly to everyone listening to this worldwide, not only is this false information, but it's meant to fool dealers into carrying the product and to then subsequently fool the consumers, fool the buyers about performance. Just looking at the product, they had a picture of it in the email. It's very rudimentary 22 silencer, low strength aluminum, 6061 alloy. It's a very derivative K-baffle design. It's almost like something off of Wish.com or a solvent trap or something. And frankly, I would have personal reservations of even shooting it. It could be structurally dangerous to the end user. Silencers are dynamic pressure vessels, and you can injure or kill someone when you're using something that's not manufactured to high quality. So we knew this stuff was going to happen with all the new silencer companies coming out of the woodwork when stamps went to $0. I would just ask that all of you remain vigilant. If the data and analysis is not at pewscience.com/rankings, it's not real. Okay, end of story. Done. I know that's unpleasant, but I don't want to dwell on that. I just wanted to speak about it up front so you all know to not be patrons of those two businesses. They're clearly dishonest and they're lying and they're actually trying to hurt you actively, which is I would take as an attack on the silencer industry in general. So good luck with that, AIM Sports and Warrior Systems Manufacturing. You did a bad thing, and I hope you pay for it. Let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Super glad to have you here. It's mostly positive. We don't usually have the negative stuff like that, but ooh, for shame, you know what I mean? There are timestamps in the episode description to skip wherever you would like, and we're going to go over some really cool technical stuff today, so there's a lot of skipping around for those of you who are only interested in some parts of it or maybe all of it. You never know, okay? And before we get into the main discussion, I'm going to go through some ads to tell you about the people who make this podcast possible every week. The first is Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, really anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time. If you want to be good at them, Legion Athletics can help you with that. They don't have everything you need, but they do have a lot of it. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, minerals, creatine, a lot of different stuff. LegionAthletics.com. There's a link in the show notes of every episode. There's a link on the website. Code word Pew Science gets you buy one get one 50% off your entire shopping cart. If you keep using the code, you get 20% cash back on everything you buy. So if you're along your fitness journey and you need supplements, or maybe you just need vitamins and stuff, maybe you just care about your health and you keep buying this stuff, this is going to save you a lot of money by using that code, and it helps the podcast. Okay, cool. Also, Silencer Shop sponsors this podcast. Very large distributor. I wonder if they got that email from AIM Sports. Probably not. Probably not. They've done a lot for consumers in the industry. Their kiosk system is what they're famous for. You do your fingerprints and photos electronically right there in the gun store there where it has the kiosk, and you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees or paperwork errors. Just you and your silencer with no drama. Truly a silencer ownership simplified. Also, Top Gun Range out of Houston. It's a very, very good place to go to get some hands-on experience with different suppressed weapon systems. And also, actually, you can like maybe you're not looking at silencers and you just want to look at guns. Like we were talking about the Mark 23 the other day. They have a lot of that stuff, and they have a really, really large 15 lane indoor shooting range for you to enjoy yourself on. It's quite good. It's quite good. And so they have a lot of comfortable couches to kind of hang out on and talk about guns with your friends. And if you're just passing through Houston on a business trip, I encourage you to go check out Kyle and his gang. They know silencers. They love to talk about them. And you might just see something you like. Okay? They're pretty cool. TopGunRange.com. Also, Capital Armory sponsors this podcast. They're pretty cool. Central Texas, long-time NFA enthusiasts. Like, all they do is NFA. And not only do they love it, not the NFA itself, but not only do they love NFA items, but they really understand them. And when it comes to silencers, they really understand silencer performance. They are connoisseurs of things that work well, as am I. And it's really cool to be able to talk with them about that stuff. One thing that they have going for them is they can ship the stuff directly to your door. If you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, they can ship it to your living room, which is wild. All right, so check out Capital Armory. Finally, the podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. Often imitated, never duplicated. I still can't believe it was 30 minutes ago that I got that email from that. I cannot believe people are lying about this stuff. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, I'm the technical director of the lab. We sponsor this podcast every week. We continue to do it because we want to continue to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. And you can go to our website at pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest, most accurate hearing-safe rating for suppressed small arms. True human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way to all the combustion is gone. 8 sections in the standard for you to peruse 24/7. It's the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the world. pewscience.com. You can support the podcast as well if you want. You can support all the research we do and our lab, keep the lights on, by joining with a membership on the website, pewscience.com. You can go to the join button there. Join. It's really cheap. Less than a cup of coffee per month. Way less now that inflation is coming. It's probably half the price of a cup of coffee. And it's great. It really helps us keep this going. And did you know you don't even have to do that? You could just donate a one-time thing if you just want to throw us a bone or whatever, if you're feeling generous, on the review page and the podcast page. And if you don't want to do anything monetarily, that's okay too. You can just sit back, relax, listen to the podcast, read the free reports, and just let everyone know that silencers and guns are awesome. Give a podcast a good rating on the podcast providers, and it'll be cool. We can help spread this stuff together. All right. Two topics for you today. We're going to go into the Inert Haze Dreyse 30 detailed deep dive. Pretty cool silencer, actually. And then topic 2, we're going to get into the Rampart Range Suppression Carson 30, which is an infinity core, by the way, just in case you didn't know that, which you probably don't, because we're gonna be the ones to tell you. So that's on the SR-25, which is cool too. All right. Topic 1A at a time of 9 minutes and 23 seconds. And yeah, we'll have like probably subtopics alpha through foxtrot. We'll go A through F on that because it's a deep dive. So I'm gonna split it up for you so it doesn't get overwhelming. And so this is just the intro to this technical talk. And the Dreyse 30, this is published last week. And just, we're going to be trucking. We're probably going to be publishing every week not for the foreseeable future, but definitely this month. Lightweight silencers are cool. Lightweight hunting silencers are cool. If you're out in the woods or out in a field and you're walking further than you thought you would, you're like, things aren't getting heavy yet, but you're having to sling and unsling your rifle quite a bit, to climb around stuff, climb up stuff, maybe take some breaks, and, you become acutely aware that things are pretty long and getting in the way. If your barrel's long, and you ask yourself, I wonder if this whole setup would be better if there wasn't a pound of steel hanging off the end of my rifle. Yeah, if you ever had that experience, you would not be alone. I've been there, and several of you have too. The Dreyse 30 from Inert Haze. It's named after the inventor of the bolt-action rifle, like we talked about last time. And the reason it's named that is because that's what the silencer is for. Okay, it's lightweight, it's pretty quiet. I think it's worth talking about it, and as is tradition, we're gonna go technically on this podcast episode in increasing levels of technicality. We're gonna start slow and build. Okay, let's talk about the physical overview at a time of 11 minutes and 21 seconds. Okay. The mount that comes with the Dreyse 30 is a direct thread variant. It is hub compatible because the silencer is itself hub compatible. It will match the rear of the silencer. The mount only weighs an ounce. The special part about the mount that is included with the Dreyse 30 is that the protrusion inside is shaped like a vented slot compensator. Yeah. So this jets blast loads radially into the first expansion chamber, or as we call it, the blast chamber, but is the first one. So it's the first expansion chamber, and we're gonna talk about that more in a second. But it's important to note that the mount that comes with the silencer should probably, at least initially, be used by you for this silencer. Okay, like you're free to use other hub compatible stuff to your heart's desires, of course. But if I were you and I had a Dreyse 30, I would try this one first. Also, the mount is recessed, so you get to maintain that 8.19 inch total length of the silencer. Those of you who haven't seen report 6215 from last week, all that information's in there. So you get to maintain that relatively modest length for its performance at 8.2 inch length when you put their mount in it, because it's recessed. It doesn't add any length to the mount. So and the length we give is the total length of the system, meaning past the barrel shoulder. Understand? It's where it indexes. That's where we give the length from the barrel shoulder. Yeah, it kind of looks cool. There's a tool feature on the front mount protrusion. So let's say your silencer comes loose from the mount for whatever reason. When you're taking it off, you can get the mount off the barrel because it is recessed, but there is a front protrusion with wrench features or tool features. So it's a good addition, because sometimes these recessed mounts don't have that, and if it gets stuck on the barrel, how the heck are you going to unscrew it off the barrel if you can't get a wrench on the front? If there, a lot of times people have to use a strap wrench. I've used pipe wrenches to get them off in the field when testing, something happens. It's a nightmare. So having a socket ready or a wrench ready tool feature on the front protrusion of a recessed mount is smart. I know it sounds simple, but you would be surprised. Speaking of that 1 ounce mount, the silencer weighs 8.8 ounces for a total weight with the mount of 9.8. Okay, 8.8 plus 1. Okay. When you're trying to reduce weight on the end of your gun, starting with the silencer is a pretty good place to do it, given the location, right? Think about it. This is welded titanium, but it's 1.6 inches in diameter, so it's not like the 1 3/4, right? It's not the 1.75 or larger. When you think conventional styling and envelope, I think the Dreyse 30 fits that type of description. And I wouldn't say that's good or that it's bad. It is. Okay, it is what it is, and it's good to understand what you're getting. There are folks like me who really like that. I really like the simple, plain type exterior designs of some silencers, and I appreciate the plain Jane exterior look type of thing. But as we know, beauty is, of course, in the eye of the beholder. It's a very subjective thing. So you may like whiz-bang, like acid trip type designs, man. I don't know what you like. And to that I say, more power to you. I think as long as you're suppressing your weapons, I don't care what weird things you like. You do whatever you want on your own time. Okay. The silencer is tubeless. And just for you folks new to silencers, the tubeless adjective comes from a time when manufacturing was transitioning from stuffing baffles into metal tubes to constructing the silencer from just the baffles themselves and welding them together, where the outer wall of the baffle formed the wall of the tube itself, hence the name tubeless. Advanced Armament Corporation, AAC, was not the first to make tubeless silencers, but they were certainly the party to really push them out in volume. And since that time, many folks have followed suit, and there isn't a super popular company out there, I think, before the 3D printing wars that didn't experiment with tubeless stuff. Probably not. Well, that's not true, because, Surefire and Knights probably, they didn't. But, hey, who's counting? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Tubeless designs, at their core, the reason I'm bringing it up and why I think it is important to think about, they allow you to save weight while still maintaining expansion volume where you need it. And it's a pretty neat way to make a silencer, actually. And 3D printing is common now, but before it was, tubeless silencers, it was a really popular method a lot of advanced silencers were using, and it can be challenging to do correctly, and it's not necessarily always the best, but it's a good way to do it if the design accepts it. And there's many silencers in our rankings in the Silencer Sound Standard that are tubeless. If you go, you'll see them. A lot of rifle silencers are. A lot of 30 caliber rifle silencers are. Okay. Yeah, it's not always the best way to do it, but if the design accepts it, you can get benefits from it. The finish of the Dreyse 30, the one, or at least the one we have, it's sort of a flat black matte finish. It's some kind of DLC coating. I checked with Inert Haze. I don't want to butcher the exact coating type name. I'm not sure of the exact, but it is some kind of DLC. I do know I really like how it's not shiny. I don't have these like aesthetic preferences, right, for silencers, but super shiny silencers have always been weird to me. I don't know, it's just my thing. A lot of people, they like those quote unquote naked silencers when companies will come out with an uncoated shiny silencer, and people are like, oh, it's so cool. I'm like, yeah, it might be cool for you, not for me. But again, we're talking about aesthetic preferences, which are totally subjective. So everyone likes different things. You like blondes, brunettes, whatever, dude. I'm not going to judge you. The end cap of the silencer looks classy to me. Not much to say about it, but technically, actually, the exit orifice and the inner flange recess are nice. They're nice. They're smooth. They're well done. If you're into that, we can talk more technically about the design now. Enough about how it looks. I'm getting a little bit grossed out. It's like who cares how it looks, dude? I'm like, I don't know. A lot of people do, I guess. So you'd think it was the most important thing sometimes. The way people dog on stuff online when they see a silencer, that looks. Oh, look at the welds. You don't even know how a weld works. Subtopic C, a time of 19 minutes. And 12 seconds. No, seriously, the amount of times people call out the way a weld looks, if they even understood how welding worked, the chances of them saying something would probably be lower. Let's talk about the technical design of the Dreyse 30 now. So back to the mount. Like I was saying earlier, it's going to jet radially into the walls of the first expansion chamber, right? The blast chamber. And there's actually a ring flange a little forward of the mount in the ID of the expansion chamber. That ring flange is going to change the travel of the clearing wave off the inner wall. And just as a disclaimer that I'm sure you know, but I'll repeat it if not, I have not taken two of these silencers, one with these features and one without these features, and then tested them side by side. But if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I bet it helps a little. I bet that ring helps. So physically what's happening, like if I can illustrate this to you conceptually, you have radial jetting components coming off of the mount, impinging upon the sidewalls of the blast chamber, and then there's a flange ring protrusion forward of the jets. So when the wave is starting to sweep across the surface, it is going to impact that, and there's going to be additional turbulence and disruption there. Am I saying it's like the end all be all and it's like a power up here and it's doing awesome stuff? No, I'm not. I'm saying it's probably making a little bit of a difference. And how do you make silencers quiet at the cutting edge and the really high levels at the high echelons of performance? It's incremental changes that add up to be enough. Every little thing you add can do something. It's usually not just one thing. The blast baffle of the silencer is symmetrical, which is often a choice for precision silencers. The baffles are generally shaped like broad step cones in the Dreyse 30. It's not as broad as a Nomad baffle, but not too far off either. There are several, but to be clear, there's no annular features. So when I say Nomad baffle, I do not mean the entire baffle. I do not mean a Hyperion derivative, and I do not mean an Omega baffle derivative. Okay, so don't run away with that statement. I'm just talking about the broad cone geometry, which is fairly generic. There are several ports past the baffle throat on each baffle, at least the ones early in the stack that I can see with the borescope, and those are going to increase stagnation relief when the pressure is still high, which they're in the right place for, so that stands to reason. So again, these seemingly little tricks, they're all adding up to get high performance out of a silencer that's really, at the end of the day, a conventional tubeless design. This silencer, it's almost a hybrid in the way it vents, but it doesn't have any secondary annular features or other venting schemes that push it into that hybrid territory. So we're just not going to call it that. And I mean, that's really why. I mean, that's the main reason I'm pretty comfortable classifying this as a conventional design in the taxonomy. Frankly, I mean, there are like 12 or 13 baffles in the silencer, and for a hunting silencer with this type of technology, if you can maximize baffle count and maintain a reasonable size and weight, you're going to do it. And if given the chance, you're going to do it. You're going to do it like this. I mean, that's exactly what they did. There's nothing in here where I'm like, why did they do that? I'm like, no, dude, this is like, okay, I see what they did. Reasonable design choice, given it's just a little over 8 inches long. So the design choices they made to accomplish that make sense to me. And for a hunting silencer that's also lightweight, I think it's a good place to be lengthwise. Because once you get to 9 inches, you better be doing unspeakable things to that blast load. If you're 9-inch silencers they're pretty long. 8-inch silencers are doable for most people. I think the 7 to 9-inch range is really where you have to decide what you're doing. I think you got to pick who you want to be, and you got to own it. I think trying to be something you're not in the 7 to 9-inch range is a dangerous proposition. If you're a 7-inch hunting silencer, you better come like the Titrex 300. Nowadays, in my opinion, if you're a 9-inch silencer, you don't want to be acting like you're a Hyperion or Mach L when you're really a Banish 30. You got to pick your lane. You see, I mean, we're closing in on 250 data points in the public rankings, guys. We know what should be expected now. So that's why, you look at this 7 to 9 inch range is super competitive, obviously, because what's 7 inches? It's a threshold of effectiveness for high suppression when technology gets advanced. That's why. And then 9 inches, when you add 2 more inches, you can do incredible, you can do, PTR vent 1 magic, so you really got to think like what's happening in that 2-inch differential. Well, a lot can happen. Speaking of suppression performance and what you should expect from a high-performance 30 caliber hunting silencer, in a gross sense, let's look at it spatially. Let's start to quantify some things. Let's do that in subtopic delta at a time of 25 minutes. In 16 seconds. Okay. I'm trying to streamline these to be more efficient so I don't go off the rails. So I'm really trying to organize here. Excuse me. Okay. Hazard map brief. That's right. Hazard map brief 8.1.12. Let me go to the old website. Yeah. And I'll pull that up as well so I can look and remind myself what yes. I really love these bolt action hazard maps. I know folks sometimes get bored with bolt guns. I understand. And but it's not normal people that are getting bored with them. It's the AR people. And there are a ton of AR people. And that's okay. But like it or not, as silencer researchers, we love bolt guns because they teach us so much about the silencer and they protect the shooter a lot. And you never, ever, ever, ever hear someone say, well, of course it's never going to be hearing safe. It's 7.62 NATO. It's supersonic. No, you never hear anyone say that, do you? Instead, you hear them say something like, well, of course it's never going to be hearing safe. It's 5.56. It's supersonic. And they're actually saying nonsense, right? They're saying nonsense. What they really mean to say is your AR-15 is going to be hazardous to you as the shooter no matter what, because there's ejection port blast right by your head. If they actually understood it, that's what they would tell you, because that's what they really mean, I think. But they don't know how blast physics works. And so they just assume it's the supersonic projectile that's blasting them in the face with overpressure. When you use a bolt gun, boy, oh boy, are you protected. If your barrel's long enough and you can get the primary blast overpressure source far enough away from your head, and you have a high-performance silencer, you're going to get a risk field that looks a lot like you see in the map in Figure 1 of this hazard map brief. It's hazard map brief 8.1.12. This is the Inert Haze Dreyse 30 on the 308 bolt gun, and you can see the map. It's colors. You see when you look at this map how most of the red danger zone is at the end of the silencer. That's where the primary blast pressure is originating. But it's not all green or something back by the shooter, is it? Why? Why isn't it green there? If it's, but Jay, you just said that there's blast pressure coming out of the end of the silencer, and you're so far away. Why isn't it green by the shooter? Well, you're like, why is it still yellow? As if there's still some danger back there. Is there still danger back by the shooter? Well, there's a couple of reasons why it's not green, why it's still a little yellow back there, and we can talk about them. The first reason is muzzle blast is expanding spherically in 3D space like a bubble, and it's traveling toward the shooter. That's right. That's how blast loads work. That's how blast load propagation works. Is it decaying? Yes. Is the jet momentum biased forward away from the shooter? Also yes. But the free field blast load is expanding. The incident wave will, in fact, impact the shooter from any blast source shot in the free field, as you see in the map, not just from firearms, but from any explosion. I promise you. The second reason why it's not super duper green by the shooter and why the risk is still elevated by the shooter is because there is still an explosion in the gun. There still is chamber blast. There is no ejection port. There's no open breach. It's a bolt action. Remember, Johann Nicholas von Dreyse said, I'm going to make a closed chamber bolt gun. And he did. The breech is locked. But there is an explosion inside the cartridge, inside the chamber, and the walls of the chamber and barrel are steel. The sound speed through steel is very, very fast, much faster than through air. And you get an impedance change And the shock waves travel from the steel to the air and then through the atmosphere to your face. And if you look near the breach area in the hazard map on that gun, in the little silhouette there, you see a little contour there of elevated risk, like right near, it's like right near where the guy's scope is, kind of in the picture. That little contour, you have the elevated risk. That is the propagation of breach blast being source isolated from the test data. That's real. That's real as a heart attack real. Yes, seriously. That is real for real test data. That is why you have that contour bump out back there by the shooter, even though there's no ejection port. Remember, I told you a couple weeks back, maybe it was a month back, the bolt action model in PSoft HD is hella complicated, dude. It's cool. I was so, like, when we got this running, I started doing it. I was like, and I started getting the maps, and I was like, this looks way better than I was gonna say. It's better than expected, but I would say it's like it's as good as I expected it would be. It met my expectations. It took a while. You can see we're on version 2.2.6 alpha of the code, but it works really well. It's like so cool because it's representing the reality, and how neat is that, right? Okay, sorry, I'm getting off the track. So we were talking about why the risk is bad by the shooter. Well, not bad, but why you still have risk as the shooter. Well, the first reason was because the muzzle blast was expanding spherically. The second reason was because the chamber blast, the gun is still a gun. The third reason for the risk back near the shooter is, in fact, the Mach wave. That's right. Just because it's not the dominant thing doesn't mean it's not still there, right? The sonic crack that everyone talks about, it's not an isolated event, actually. It's actually continually produced. It's continually formed as the projectile travels downrange, and the Mach wave, then it gets formed and travels back towards you at the Mach angle. So it's traveling upstream back toward the source. Okay, so you're getting that too. So the bullet is flying downrange. It's shooting a Mach wave off the front of it, and it's coming back at the Mach angle, which you can compute, and it's going to keep doing that as long as it's flying. And so all of these things, the muzzle blast overpressure that's expanding spherically in 3D space, the chamber blast that comes to the steel to the air that's expanding spherically in 3D space, to the Mach wave that's traveling the Mach angle back towards you, that all adds up in a continuum over time to the complete signature that impacts your ears, your eyes, your face, your skull, your brain. All of those things are coming together to form the thing that's going to touch you. So you look at this map, the really cool thing about this map, and you looking at it, is that you can tell if you're with your buddy or with your son or your daughter about to shoot a deer, and they're shooting, the deer, or maybe you're shooting and they're with you, or whoever's shooting. If you take one shot to kill that deer, hopefully, if they're sitting there shoulder to shoulder with you, chances are they're going to be okay with this silencer and gun. Look at the suppression rating. See the contours? Yeah, you're going to be okay. And personnel safety is awesome, and that's the whole point of this. Isn't that cool? That's all summed up in that one picture. Isn't that cool? It's just a picture. You don't even have to listen to anything. You just look at it. Cool, right? Yeah. All right, let's go deeper. I warned you. I didn't warn you. I just told you. What are we on? Subtopic Echo. System performance at a time of 33 minutes. Oh, I messed that up. 34 minutes and 6 seconds. I could never work in radio. I'd mess it up all the time. Okay. Subtopic E. Yeah, let's do this. Let's pull up the full report now. So right now we were on Hazard Map Brief 8.1.12. What I'd like you to do now is go to the full report 6.215. Section 6 of the standard has the full reports. You, of course, if you're a member, do that. If you're not a member of Pew Science, there's a free version of this report. I'm not going to leave you behind. You're going to have everything you need for this discussion. Okay, cool. Pull it up. Now, at the top of the report, there is the suppression rating graphic and the hazard map. We already been through the hazard map. Okay, so instead, we're going to go through it now explicitly as is tradition. Bottom line up front, 35.2 muzzle suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap, 1.6 meters above the ground in the tree-free field, middle standard. 47.8 shooter's ear suppression rating, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear in the free field, for a total composite suppression rating of 48.2 on the 20-inch 308 bolt action with the Inert Haze Dreyse 30 with its direct thread mount with M80 ball rounds. Okay, 308 ammunition. Okay, so the suppression rating graphic displays in abbreviated terms what you see in the continuum of the 3-inch grid in the hazard map. Okay, something for everyone. You like pictures, you got a picture. You don't like pictures, you like numbers, you got numbers. You like pictures and numbers, you got that too. Cool, right? So when you're sitting in the upper 40s, you're having a really good time for a 308 weapon. I mean, objectively. My friends, this is where the magic happens. I think it's all awesomeness here. Let's look at why. Let's look at why the magic's happening. We can do that. Scroll down past and there's a historical note in the report about Johann Nicholas von Dreyse, and he's a German inventor. Yeah, well, what did I write in here? Oh yeah, developed the first bolt-action breech-loading rifle known as the Dreyse needle gun, or the, let's see how to say this in German, the Zundnadelgewehr. That's right, because Gewehr would be gun, Nadel is needle. Zundnadel, I guess, would be the Zundnadelgewehr. Zundnadelgewehr. Yeah, my German's rusty, but yeah. Zundnadelgewehr, the needle gun, the Prussian army adopted in 1841, so they could get a much higher rate of fire than with a muzzle loader, right? Yeah. Didn't have to load from the muzzle, they could load from the breech and then fire with the locked breech. That was awesome. Bolt guns for the win. Now people are bored in the FRTs. It's like, relax. Just kidding. Okay, scroll down. Enough. Scroll down to Figure 1. We'll look at some raw blast overpressure data so we can talk about what actually makes this thing tick. Okay, Figure 1A, Figure 1B. Blast overpressure in the free field. What's the first thing you see? And what's the first thing that jumps out at you in Figure 1A? Well, you can already see the decoupled Mach wave and a really, really long blowdown duration. And you already know what's happening pretty much from Figure 1A before you even zoom in if you're like a Pew Science veteran, but let's zoom in and see what it looks like in Figure 1B. See, you don't have to zoom. I just did it for you. Isn't that cool? Figure 1B, just as you suspected, beautiful N-wave physics, almost perfectly superimposed with the first 3 shots. Very beautiful, actually. It's really hard to get more consistent than that. The Dreyse 30 is doing something right, which is cool. Look at the overlaid internal combustion inside the silencer that you see before that big N-wave at around 29.8 milliseconds. That is the blast load entering the silencer and making it resonate at a high frequency as the signature transmit through the titanium of the blast chamber to free air. Remember we were talking about the chamber of the gun and that coming out? This is from the silencer coming out to air. Isn't that cool? It is cool. I think it's cool. Right after that you have that coupled Mach wave, which is it. And the reason I call it a coupled FRP jet, and again, for those of you new to this, it's because there's a gas jet that's coalesced with a bullet shock, and taking them apart is not going to be possible with this in the time we have. So they're coupled together. Then right after that happens, and you get some of your final precursors, everything dies, or seems to die for a second, doesn't it? Why would things die down? It's because this is sort of acting like a gas trap, right? This is actually what you want in a hunting silencer most of the time. You're now lowering the impulsivity of the signature. You're drawing out the rise time. You're ramping the load. All of these things are changing the relationship of load onset to natural period of the vibrating components of your ears. Okay. This is the physics of what's happening. It's going to make things less harsh. if you dump blast loads like this. Now, eventually, you start to really vent at a higher amplitude. So if you want to look at this as an energy analog, you can use impulse, and you would see that in figure 2. The same physics I just explained is visible in the momentum transfer potential of the waves, because see, waves have momentum and they can transfer momentum to you. The potential to do so is quantified by impulse, and the time varying nature of the impulse is important. It is, and that determines how your ears respond. And so you can see that the initial Mach disturbance causes an acute accumulation in the early time there. That's what that little blip is in figure 2A and 2B. I'm labeling it as consistent initial jet momentum in 30 milliseconds in figure 2B, if you want to see the exact thing I'm pointing to. And then you see things really slowly ramp up. And when I say slowly, we're talking about the order of like fractions of a millisecond. But with regard to combustion events, it's actually an eternity there. Well, not an eternity, but it's pretty slow for this type of wave. So you see that take over after the bullet shock. And what is the physical meaning? Like when you see those slopes, those look like reverse ski slopes there after that initial jet momentum accumulation. What's the physical meaning of this? What is the manifestation here? It's combustion chain taking over after bullet shock. That is what you're looking at. You're looking at combustion chain taking over the momentum dump after the initial jet. That's the plain English way of saying what's happening with the squiggly lines in figure 2. Okay? 1 second. Now, the $1 million question, as you look at this, is, well, Jay, you might say, what's up with the big black curve? That's your FRP. That's your first round pop. That's the afterburning of extra propellant and unburned gas products in a superheated atmosphere with extra oxidizer present from the ambient air that was in the silencer before you fired it. And that's the overpressure and the momentum generated from it outside the silencer from all that. That is the definition of first round pop. The technical, literal definition of it. The FRP is present, it is measurable, and you can hear it. But in this particular instance, the decay... let me be very clear what I'm talking about. Figure 2B, the black curve. The decay happening pre-peak of the other shot. So the decay you see after the 125.7 decibel millisecond impulse peak on the FRP curve, that decay that's happening it's starting to decay fast enough due to pressure rarefaction prior to the peak accumulation of other shots. That relationship is part of the reason why it is the silencer is somewhat masking how severe the FRP differential is. And another way to think about that is the timing of this FRP decay is making up for the fact that its pure amplitude is a little higher. And it's making up, when I say making up for it, it's resulting in a bystander FRP that's relatively nominal overall, in our analytical opinion, when we look at this. And that's what the calculations indicate. So I would not view this FRP as extreme. I just think it's a really important conclusion here to look at that. I mean, because you can see it, you might think, when you, depending on how you look at the waveform, depending on how you slice it and zoom in, you can try to tell any story you want, really. But unless you do the calculations, you're not going to get it. And so what I'm trying to do is tell you, like, the features that are important to look at. Okay, 1 second. Moral of the story is the FRP on this, as a bystander to the Dreyse 30 on this deer rifle, it's not that bad, which is good to know. And I think we put a percentage on it in the report somewhere. Where is it? Like, it's in the single digit percent, like less than 5% differential. Pew Science members, check out the experience you're going to get as a shooter in the full report here. Note that you can't hide from the stuff we've been talking about, but you can, in fact, relish in the standoff you get, right? All these muzzle-driven phenomena that we've been talking about, 1 meter left of the end cap in the free field, you're going to experience them as the shooter. But what do you have really working for you here on this 20-inch bolt gun with this 8.2-inch long silencer? You have more standoff than normal with a 20-inch barrel. That's going to help you out. As we say in Blast Effects, standoff is your friend. If you can't lower the severity of the threat, get more distance. Okay? This weapon does that for you. It's built in. It's a 20-inch bolt gun. All right, let's subtopic Foxtrot. Overall thoughts at a time of 45 minutes. In 47 seconds. Okay, so overall thoughts. I and this is a good point to look at the two big bar charts in the report. If you want to scroll down past the member section and everything, there's two kind of long bar charts in here. They're not all inclusive, but they're specifically for reasons. Big picture, you got to consider length bins. For other comparisons, you go use the normal rankings table if you want. This is actually why I personally like using the scatter plot that's in the member rankings section. It's much better than the table, in my opinion, because it's spatial. It ignores the composite rating, and it has length and weight sliders. So if you're a Pew Science member and you log in and you go to the member rankings page, scroll down past the table, you have a scatter plot filter appliance there. And it's just really important to use that, I think, for you. I mean, you don't have to use it if you don't want to use a free country, but it's for you. So for the public report, these charts are going to have to do. Now, in the first chart, it's showing the only silencer it has on the 308 bolt gun are those that are between 6 and 8.5 inches long with their mouths. And when you look at that first chart, the Dreyse at 30 is protecting the operator, I think, better than anything less than 8.5 inches long. Is that true? Yeah, I think that's true, which is cool. And that's important because, dude, when you look at the next chart, this thing's beating an Ultra 9, isn't it? Because the next chart is anything greater than or equal to 8.5 inches long. And put the Dreyse at 30 on there, it's only 8.2. But look at it in comparison to like the Ultra 9. It's like just edging out the Ultra 9. Guys, it's beating an Able Theorem L. Guys, this is an 8.2-inch long silencer. That is no joke. That is no joke, okay? So that's kind of what these charts are for. Like, you look at these and look, don't use these. I'm telling you, Pew Science members, it's really cheap. Less than the price of a cup of coffee per month, and you get to support the lab and use all the cool tools. Bro, do it. No pressure. I think my overall thoughts about this silencer are that it's doing exactly what Inert Haze set out to do with it. I think it's light. It's not too long. It's crushing performance for the size. I think that's really all you can hope for with a bolt gun hunting silencer. I think if you're a traditionalist looking to put something on your bolt gun that works and it's not too flashy and it's just going to do work, this is what I would call a work silencer. And I was having a call with a colleague, a client with a silencer company the other day. And we were talking about work versus play silencers for various reasons, right? This is definitely a work silencer. I feel like this is something you put on a bolt gun, you use it, you forget it's there, you gut your deer, you move on. And sometimes I think that's a good thing to be able to say for a piece of gear. I mean, that's like my honest impression of this silencer. Given its performance and its weight and length, I would say that's my impression of it. So, yeah. Great job, Bradley. You the man. Inert Haze bringing the performance. So congratulations on making a product like this. I think it performs very well, and you love to see this. So I wish you all this success in your endeavors. Now then, let's talk about some 7.62 NATO violence. at a time of 49 minutes and 58 seconds. Oh my goodness. Sound signature review 216, the Rampart Range Suppression Carson 30 on the 14.5-inch SR-25. You know, folks, it's like, what is it, like those carnivals? They're like, step right up. Try your hand at taming the short barrel 7.62 NATO semi-auto. So how's it going with that? Actually, not going too shabby. This is an infinity core derivative. You heard that before, yeah? Yeah. This is just an intro to the report. This report will be live at 0700 Central Wednesday morning. Today for you, tomorrow for me. And this is an interesting one. Let me pose this question to you. Have you ever wondered what would happen to an Otter Creek Labs Infinity if you modified the distal flow geometry and also sealed the end cap and then you made it out of titanium? Have you ever wondered? Actually, you probably haven't wondered that, but I wondered about the first part. Forget about the titanium for a second. I wondered about the flow geometry a bunch, and that's actually what the Carson 30 is. And this is a really good report, I think, because I'm glad it's happening when it's happening, because it's fitting right into the discussion for taming semi-auto 308. Like, this is all going according to plan. I love this. This is exactly how I envisioned SR-25 testing, like, progressing, and it's all happening. Like, companies came forward and were like, okay, we'll test. Dude, I'm like, yes. If you build it, they will come. This is like so much. Well, at first I was going to say it's cooler than when we started 308 bolt guns by ourselves, but like, this is actually, it's also cool. It's not cooler, but it's also cool, and it's cool in a different way, because it's straight. So far, it's like, it's been straight up industry driven after we picked the host. Like, this is just, there people coming. I'm like, this is cool. Like, what are we going to see? And so, this is actually, like, I'm telling you, I'm getting excited about this, because 14.5-inch 308 is an incredible learning platform, and it's a semi-auto. And, folks, of course, are getting hung up on semi-auto 5.56, and for good reason. The AR-15 is so unbelievably popular. Like, I get it. But the amount of folks who also wonder, well, wait a minute. How do all these 30 caliber silencers do on semi-auto 30 caliber weapons? It's actually really high. The amount of people who ask us is actually really high. The SR-25 allows us to examine this in a really great universal way, and that 14.5-inch barrel length is quite nice. It's not too short. It's not too long. It's just right for a silencer, right? I actually think like 12 to 13-inch barrel, I think, is the sweet spot for suppressed semi-auto 308, but we didn't want to get too exotic and get too far away from 16 for the masses. So 14.5-inch ended up being perfect for that. I just think I'm just so happy with this choice right now. So you now get another data point on the host. First, you got the unsuppressed, incredibly loud and dangerous. Then you got the Dillon DRC 308 in the report 6211, which makes the gun much less bad than unsuppressed. Very good. Now this Carson 30 is here to show you, okay, maybe the SR-25 isn't going to be a disaster after all. Okay, maybe this will start to catch your attention, I think. Not saying that the Dillon was a disaster, but I'm saying, like, there's going to be levels to the game, and it's important to see how performance is going to happen. So when you see this report, you're going to see another hazard map. It's going to be in 8.1.13. Look at the Dillon map. Look at the Carson 30 map. Compare them when this goes live in the morning and see what you're seeing. I think a big question that I know a lot of people are going to have is, well, how does an Infinity perform on the SR-25? Is this an Infinity? Does an Infinity perform like this? Well, you're going to have to wait and see, but I can tell you that no, actually, the Carson 30 and the changes they made to it, they actually help it perform better than an Infinity on this host weapon. They do. This Carson 30 is indeed optimized to work on a gun like this, and it's actually good to see. If you recall, those of you who've been following the research, if you recall, we have somewhat determined that the Infinity is 5.56 optimized. Or did I say that weird? We have determined that the Infinity 5.56 is somewhat optimized. or the Infinity 762 is somewhat okay. I wish I could edit it, but I don't have time. Let me start over. We have determined that the Infinity 762 from Otter Creek Labs is somewhat 5.56 optimized, even though it's a 30 caliber silencer. Okay, that's the way I wanted to say that sentence. Sorry, I was trying to English is weird, but the reason I wanted to be very careful how I said it is because it's definitive in our research that it is somewhat 5.56 optimized. It's not that we somewhat determined it. It's that, no, we determined that it is somewhat optimized for 5.56. Okay, to be clear, which is interesting because you wouldn't think it would be, but it's all about what they were trying to do when they made it, right? Yeah, carries forward and echoes through eternity. With regard to material choice, and that's another thing you're going to see people talk about here. Yeah, the Carson 30 is titanium, but also its purpose is duty use on a 308 AR that's going to be taken out into a field. So when Rampart Range Suppression, they're using this Infinity core under license, but they modified it. And why did they ask to use it? Well, they needed something to use to do. They needed something to work for them for their application. They want to hump a 308 battle rifle out in the field, use it, take it back. They're not using it for machine gun operations. Okay, they're using it for work, but they're not using it for machine gun like burn downs. That's not what this is for. It's made for using and carrying. Okay, and with the direct thread mount, you're 11 ounces in total. That's definitely going to make you less grumpy as you hump your SCAR or your SR-25. It's going to make you less grumpy when you have 11 ounces hanging off the end of your barrel instead of 22, instead of double that. It's going to make you less grumpy. So this thing, it's like an Infinity, but it's not an Infinity. And we're going to talk about the geometric variations in the technical discussion next week. There's details about it in the report. Okay, it is not Infinity. An Infinity will not do what the silencer does on the SR-25. I promise. Okay, this has a hub mount compatible, nice smooth finish. Actually, it doesn't have the Infinity texture on the outside. It's like a smooth finish. You can get it in multiple colors. Whatever. It's interesting. New manufacturer, Rampart Range Suppression. They come from the military world, doing military things. And they feel that this is something they would use and that they do use. And there you go. It's going to be really cool watching this SR-25 research progression. And stay tuned. There's more coming. You're going to get some SR-25. You're going to keep getting SR-25. I'm very honored. And we are very honored that Rampart Range Suppression trusted us to include them in the early stages of it. It's so hard to be on the early stages of a host publicly. It is nerve-wracking and nuts, and they definitely came to play. I'm really, really excited that they wanted this published so you guys can see it, you guys and girls. It's really cool that you get to see this. So check it out in the morning. The report and the new hazard map brief. I think it's... Oh, is it 8.1.12 or 8.1? Did I say 13? It should be. It is 13. 8.1.13 will be live with this report, which is, what's the report number? Oh, sorry, guys. It's report 6.216. So report 6216, hazard map 13. It's going to be live at 0700. Cool, right? So we're going to be back with more data analysis next week too, with the technical discussion of this. So be good, stay safe. I will talk with you very soon. Okay, bye.